Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. We wanted to note that this meeting is being broadcasted on NUSD's YouTube channel at the direction of the board. The broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. If you would like to make a public comment on an item on the agenda or not on the agenda, please see staff at the side table for a public comment card. The following board members are absent this evening: Trustee Julie Jacobson, Trustee Butler, and Trustee Chandra Alexander. Also absent is Superintendent Dr. Tracy Smith. I will be serving as president this evening. Trustee Gasson will be serving as vice president / clerk, and Dr. Julie Sinyard, executive director, will be serving as acting superintendent. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The board met in closed session. Trustee Gasson will report out.
Good evening. The board met in closed session on the following items. Public employee discipline dismissal release was information only, and conference with labor negotiators Joshua Braff, Chief Financial Officer, and Francesca Whitcomb, Executive Director, Human Resources, and Employee Organization, California School Employee Association, CSEA, was information only.
We now have approval of this evening's agenda. Would any trustee like to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Thank you, Trustee Mack. Second, Trustee Gasson. All those in favor? Aye. 4 yes. Thank you. Next is consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull any consent agenda items or make a motion to approve the consent agenda? Thank you, Trustee Pickes. Second. Thank you, Trustee Mack. All those in favor? Aye. 4 trustees. Thank you. Next, we have announcements, and we can start with Trustee Pickes.
Happy summer, everyone. Nothing to report other than I hope everyone is enjoying a break, and hopefully everyone in this room will soon get a little break.
Nothing to report other than really enjoyed the graduations and the promotions. It's the one thing we all look forward to most as part of this gig. I really appreciate folks at Marin Oaks or Hill Education Center, as well as Novato High and San Jose Middle School. Great stuff.
So similarly, I enjoyed the graduation at Sinaloa. It was great to be back on campus, and then Novato High, seeing my daughter and all the other seniors graduating was just fantastic. And then just for the other trustees, I've been connecting with some of the other trustees in different school districts, just reaching out to make connections, and I had a really great meeting with Shelley Hamilton from Ross Valley to discuss some of the stuff that they've got going on and things that we're doing. So hopefully it'll continue through the summer while we're on break.
I also attended a few promotions and graduations in the last 2 weeks. And I also attended the the MSA open house at the Marin Community Foundation last Friday. And that was pretty awesome to see so many people there, even though it's already everyone's spring break. So really exciting. Go check it out if you have the time. Thank you.
Great, and kind of ditto what everyone else has said. Congratulations to all the administrators and staff for their amazing promotion and graduation ceremonies. They were a blast to attend. Again, happy summer to everyone. We've got credit recovery at the high school going on right now. Our ELOT program is up and running. ESY, the extended school year program, is running for our students with special education needs. And soon, kind of towards the beginning of the next school year, we will have Camp N again coming up pretty shortly. And then again, thank you to everybody for working so hard the last couple weeks here to final push for the board meeting. And want to wish Joshua Braff congratulations. He is the proud father of a little girl, beautiful baby girl, and we're sending both Josh and his wife all best wishes. So congratulations, Josh.
Thank you. We now have non-agenda public comments. We are so glad to have public comments on any item not on the agenda. 3 minutes are allowed for each commenter. However, we are not allowed to respond to these comments, nor are we able to speak about employees or student privacy situations. The board directs the appropriate staff member to respond to all commenters within 2 business days following our board meeting. However, Dr. Tracy Smith is on vacation and we will respond as soon as she gets back. First speaker, Os Beckers. And then next is going to be Tiana Naples. Os, you may come to the front.
All right. Hi, board. Hi, it's me again. I wanted to take a moment to congratulate you all and the district and myself for launching 13 new websites. And I will do my best to make sure everything is taken care of before my departure on the 30th. But I want to travel back to 2023 for a moment, where Marcia Carey contacted me to work here at the district. I didn't apply. I mean, after she requested that, I of course did, but I remember the day when she reached out to me. I'm like, oh, wow, someone's reaching out to me to apply for this job. So that was a small gesture for you guys and for her, but it changed my world. It was, and after she reached out, I immediately signed up for my EdJoin account. And in the EdJoin messages, it's still down there from 2023, the receipt of my submission and my application. But over the past 2 years, I've been given amazing professional opportunities that will help me sustain my future after NUSD. I had my first professional conference, and I even spoke at the professional conference in San Diego, and I was subsequently invited by the Sonoma County Office of Education to speak on my expertise weeks afterwards. And I've been supported by a relentless team of union members and a union president who have continued to fight for me to this day. And so I want to thank Janice and Don for continually guiding me through this difficult time. And I want to thank office managers and a handful of staff here at the district office who've tried to support me and fight this from happening. I didn't confer with them if they wanted to be named, so I'll leave it up to them if they want to be wish to be known in the future. And I also want to shout out Leslie for being so open to taking me on when she wasn't even the one responsible for hiring me when I was hired in IT originally, and then she took me on. We made a really great team. Although challenging, this experience has also been magical. Having thoroughly enjoyed high school, had thoroughly enjoyed all of school as a child, this has been enlightening to me, and being able to see the things on the other side of the scenes, and it's had me gain a much more respect for educational professionals than I even had before. This is a field I wish to remain in, and I thank you for igniting this passion within me, and thank you for everything. I look forward to contributing to education in the future.
Thank you. Next, Tiana Naples.
Good evening, my name is Tiana Naples, and I'm the parent of a student who was expelled from a school in this district. That expulsion was recently reversed by the Marin County Board of Education, who found that the principal and vice principal acted with prejudicial abuse of discretion in their handling of the case. Let me be very clear. My child was unfairly removed from his education and school community based on decisions that were biased, unjust, and harmful. This wasn't just a disagreement in judgment. It was a formal finding that prejudice and unfair treatment influenced a serious disciplinary action that caused harm to my child and possibly his future. What is most alarming to me is that the expulsion was initially upheld by a panel of the principal's own peers, people within this district who heard the same testimony and reviewed the same evidence as the Marin County Board of Education, and yet they still voted to expel my child. As a result of this decision, my son was out of school from February 11th to April 14th. That's 2 months of lost instruction, lost time with peers, emotional stress, and lasting harm to his confidence and sense of safety. And after the decision to reverse the expulsion, not one person from Novato Unified School District reached out. No apology, no phone call, no attempt to talk about solutions or how to move forward, how to rebuild trust, just nothing. Too much time has passed, and as we are coming up on a new school year, we are still not clear on where we go from here, so I have a few questions for the district. What is the district doing to keep children safe from being targeted, stereotyped, and pushed out by school staff? What are the consequences when school leaders act with prejudicial abuse of discretion? What support is in place for the 2% of African American children that are enrolled in Novato Unified School District? And how are you ensuring that district-level decision-making bodies are truly impartial and not simply rubber stamping harmful recommendations from administrators? My child was harmed. My family was harmed. And in all honesty, I'm pretty sure we're not the only family that has experienced this unjust treatment. If you are truly committed to equity, safety, and student well-being, that commitment must include protecting students from institutional bias, not just physical harm. You cannot talk about student safety without addressing institutional harm and racial bias. My son deserved better, and we as a community deserve answers and action. I'm here tonight asking for accountability, transparency, and for meaningful change, because our children deserve to be safe in every sense of that word. And that includes being safe from unfair and discriminatory treatment by the very people we entrust with their education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the 2025 to 2026 Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, Local Indicators Report, and Dr. Senior will be reporting on this.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, board members. Tonight we are going to review our local indicators, and these are a component of the Local Control and Accountability Plan. This is a group of indicators that are demonstrated on the California dashboard, and they pair with the state indicators. And so the state indicators include the academic performance data we receive from the CAS scores, our graduation rate, our English learner progress, chronic absenteeism, suspension rate, and college and career readiness. Now the state puts all of that together for us. They compile all that data and then they display that on the dashboard. But the local indicators is what we cover and we self-report. The local indicators, there are 6 of them that we monitor. So the first one is basic, kind of what are the basic conditions of the schools? Do we have enough instructional materials for every student? Are teachers appropriately credentialed and assigned to the appropriate classrooms? And are our school facilities in good repair? The second one is that our implementation of state standards, and we self-report on that as well. And so we determine whether or not we as an institution are appropriately instructing our students based on the California standards, state standards. We also discuss and review parent and family involvement. And are we reaching out to our families? Are we partnering with them in our educational decisions? Do they feel like they have a say in what happens in our school districts? We also look at kind of school climate. And the school climate discusses things like, okay, what is our student suspension and expulsion rates? What other measures are we gathering? And we use a lot of the information from our thought exchange surveys, our local surveys, kind of focus groups, kind of input from our school-connected organizations to see how are we doing as an institution and where can we improve. Finally, we have kind of the course access portion. Are we offering students a broad, and this is more at the secondary level, are we offering students a wide exposure? And can students, are they able to take both career technical education courses and have access to the A through G requirements? And are we extending those opportunities to all? And the final local indicator, which we don't essentially report on as a separate standalone item in the LCAP, but it's also kind of what are other pupil outcomes in subject areas. And so this is, again, how else are students performing? What is our college acceptance rate? We look at other data too. Where else can we improve? For the first one, the teacher assignments and our credentialing, this 95% of teachers are appropriately credentialed is based on our 23-24 data. We lag a little bit in this information. The state lags. The state's actually only at 22-23 in terms of teacher credentialing, so we still kind of work on that. And a huge shout out to our HR crew who is very good about teacher credentials, and when I try and get creative, they tell me no. So I do appreciate that, and they are wonderful guide keepers for that. With curriculum, does every student have sufficient access to standards-aligned materials? And we absolutely do. We look at these. Do we receive Williams complaints? Do we have any concerns with that? We do not. And for our facilities, are our facilities in good repair? Every year, our maintenance operation crew go around to each site and they self-report. They look at a variety of different issues. They look at lighting structures, cleanliness, they look at roofs, they determine all of these areas, and they self-report and say, if there's an area we think we could get better upon, then let's fix this. So 6 of our sites are reported with a fair condition, and 2 sites were reported with a poor condition, one of them being Olive Elementary, right after the review was done, right after the storm, the big winter storm. So all the issues that have been reported in the poor condition, they are repaired, and the maintenance operations and grounds crews take care of all of that. So they report on their own and then fix their errors or fix areas of concern quickly. And then finally, kind of with our other local indicators, kind of questions that we answer. How do we rate ourselves on standard implementation? And we, for the past few years, have given ourselves kind of 4 that we are sustaining, the level of standards implementation. We know we can always do better, and we describe how we are improving and kind of talked about that. How do we involve our parents and families? And again, with our outreach, with our community input, with making sure that we have parents and students involved in our PTSAs, our school site councils, our ELAC and our DLAC crews. How do we improve our school culture and climate? And really kind of areas that we're focused on. How are we getting more student voice into what we're doing as an institution? And this one, how do we provide a broad course of study for all students? One of the areas, and a big congratulations, and wanted to acknowledge the hard work. There was a great middle school crew that looked at one of the areas of concern were students that were involved in either English language development courses, resource classes, and or the dual language immersion program, were losing an elective with the only 6 period options that we offer. And so very excited in the 25-26 school year for San Jose and for Sinaloa middle schools, students involved in those 3 areas will have an opportunity to take a 7th period, an optional 7th period, should they wish to continue to pursue either the DLI program, ELD, and or resource classes. So that's exciting. And then how are we measuring student achievement at the local level? And so, and again, through the reports that we've done this year, through our Galileo benchmarking, through our data cycles, really making sure that we are addressing student improvement. And so I'm excited to report that we have met all the local indicator requirements. This is one of the things that as long as you go through these processes and you report and you have articulated how you are supporting students, you meet these local indicators. So this has helped us create the LCAP, and we have addressed those. We will submit those to the California dashboard, and those will be reported on the dashboard in the 25-26 year demonstration. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you. Next is approval of resolution number 36, 2024-2025, determining the use of Education Protection Account, EPA, funds for NUSD. And Jeff will be presenting on this resolution.
All right, good evening, trustees. As you can see, I'm filling in for Josh tonight as he's a little busy, as you can imagine. But I am told he's watching us on TV, and cheering me on, so I'll do my best to present the information and answer any questions that you may have about any of the items. So the first item we have is the EPA resolution, and there's just a couple things to know about the resolution. EPA is part of our LCFF formula funding. So that means even if we get more or less EPA funding, it actually doesn't really change anything. If we get more EPA funding, we'll just get less state funding to balance it out. So EPA is just a piece of our overall funding, but if it changes, it doesn't really affect our budget because the state aid will just balance it out. One of the things I did learn, though, in preparing for this item was that basic aid districts do get to keep the EPA funding. So they get that plus what they have on top. So just another one of those little things that basic aid districts get that we don't. But so for LCFF funded districts like us, EPA doesn't really help us, but for basic aid districts, it does give them a little boost. EPA money cannot be used for administrator salaries, but Novato Unified uses EPA solely for teacher salaries and benefits. So we take all the EPA money we get and we put it straight into teacher salaries and benefits. And so this resolution is just saying that that is what we are going to do with the EPA money. We are going to use all of it towards teacher salaries and benefits. So with that, I'd like to ask for your approval of the EPA resolution, and unless you guys have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, can I please have a motion to approve this resolution?
I move to approve.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Trustee Pickus. Thank you. Second by Trustee Mack. This is a roll call vote. Trustee Alexandra absent. Trustee Butler absent. Trustee Gasson.
I'm here. Yes. Aye.
Trustee Jacobson absent. Trustee Lametta, yes. Trustee Mack.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you. 4 ayes and 3 absent. Next, approval of tentative agreement between Novato Unified School District and Novato Federation of Teachers. Franny, you are up.
Hello, Dr. Senior, board members. So the item you have here is just approval of the tentative agreement between Novato Unified School District and the Novato Federation of Teachers. We are very proud of the work that both parties came together on and to agree to with this agreement, including actually in total over 20 different pieces of language that we agreed to. So that was pretty huge. The whole contract was open for successor negotiations. So that's why this agreement encompasses so many different things. But it does include the salary increase proposed of 2.3% for the teachers, and the NFT membership ratified this tentative agreement on June 10th. And then following your approval tonight, the next step typically in the process is I will take all these proposed language changes and incorporate them into a new 3-year agreement that'll be brought forward to the board for review in the fall. Any questions?
Trustee Pickus?
Not a question, but just really wanted to appreciate everyone on your team and also on NFT. I know that there was a lot of back and forth and it took a lot of work to get where we are. So just much appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve the tentative agreement? Thank you, Trustee Pickus. Second by Trustee Mack. All those in favor? Aye, 4 yes. Okay, thank you. Next, we have approval of tentative agreement between Novato Unified School District and California School Employees Association.
All right, thank you. Again, so similarly, we are also very proud of the work we had together, our two parties. We actually had a final session with CSEA just last week where we wrapped up a final memorandum of understanding with them for a new pilot program for cross-training, very exciting, and a job description that will come before you guys in August. But this item here, basically, this also includes a salary increase to the salary schedules of 2%, as well as a 2.5% increase by the district's contribution to medical benefits cap effective in next year. And again, just like with NFT, their whole contract was open for successor negotiations. So, that's something to think about in the future. These two units will hopefully, they'll be on the same cycle moving forward, where they're going to be every 3 years, they'll have successor agreement negotiations together at the same time. So again, I will incorporate these changes pending your approval into a new agreement in the fall that'll come before you. And just like with NFT, the CSEA membership did ratify this tentative agreement June 10th.
Thank you, Franny.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions or comments?
Just same comment, really a lot of appreciation for everyone who made this happen, and I will move to approve.
Thank you so much, Trustee Pickus. Second. Thank you, Trustee Mack. All those in favor? 4 trustees. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Franny. Next, we have approval of AB 1200, Public Disclosure of Collective Bargaining Agreement, Classified School Employees Association, CSEA, Novato Federation of Teachers, NFT, Unrepresented Groups, and Associated Salary Schedules, presented by Jeff.
All right, so now that Franny's talked about the tentative agreements, the AB 1200 public disclosure basically talks about the overall cost of those agreements. So this is what we give to MCOE to disclose the cost of the agreement. So overall, the cost of these salary agreements themselves are estimated to be about $2.4 million per year. This disclosure has already been submitted to MCOE, so wanted to let you know that they have responded and they agree with the accuracy of the document and all the costs associated with it. We received their letter letting us know that they've reviewed it. And additionally, since there's an approved increase to salary schedules, we brought the salary schedules to you as well. And all the new salary schedules reflect everything in the agreements. And the nice thing about the AB 1200 is that it includes both NFT and CSEA in that one document, and it also matches with the budget. So we already knew what the agreement was going to be, so we've already included that in the budget as well. So this is all matching together. So if unless there's any questions, just ask for your approval of the AB 1200 Public Disclosure of Collective Bargaining. Yes.
Trustee?
It's possible. I had coffee. I may still have heard you wrong. It's 3.6 million, correct? Not
Well,
two-
so there's a cost associated with the bargaining agreement itself, and then there's also other costs like step and column and things like that. So that 3.6 million is reflecting all those other things, but this just talks about
This is
the
just about
bargaining
the
agreement
piece.
itself. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. And I actually just wanted to acknowledge that the management is not getting an increase at all, and to thank that group for doing that so that we were able to do what we could for the other bargaining units. So just huge appreciation for that. And unless anybody has questions, I'm ready to make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Gasson. Can I get a second? Thank you, Trustee Mack. All those in favor? 4 trustees. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Dude.
Next, item 12E, approval of the annual 2025-2026 Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, and Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, Federal Addendum.
Thank you. Tonight, we are presenting the federal addendum, which is a report that should be reviewed annually. This initial report was created in 2018-19 and basically explains how we are spending our federal monies for Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV. We are obviously in a state of uncertainty regarding our federal funding at this time. However, we still monitor our plan, and we are moving forward as we have been until we hear otherwise. So this plan might come to you again at the beginning of next year if there's significant changes. So kind of with our plan that is presented, there have been very minimal changes. We've included a couple different pieces. We've included kind of 5 areas of focus that we've really been talking about for the coming school year. Talking about drilling down and focusing on our implementation of proficiency-based education, our multi-tiered systems of support, improving math outcomes and instruction for our students, early literacy, and our English learner and newcomer support. So that's been included in this document. We've made a couple changes in terms of the usage of Indigo, which is kind of our technology, kind of online submissions for our Title IV. Indigo will only be used for Marin Oak students at this time. And then we've also mentioned the implementation of the California College Guide Initiative. So this is the CCGI platforms that we've been talking about previously, but really kind of having a push for that to make sure, in conjunction with Naviance, that our students at the high school and middle school levels are really having opportunities to develop 4-year plans, understand the requirements for A through G, And this platform talks directly with our Aries student database. So again, very minimal changes. Want to bring this forward in terms of making sure we're compliant with all federal requirements, and I am asking for your approval.
Thank you, Dr. Senior. Any questions or comments? Okay, can I please get a motion to approve okay. Thank you, Trustee Mack. Second by Trustee Pickus. All in favor? 4 trustees. Thank you. Next, item 12F, approval of the 2024 to 2027 Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, and the 2024 to 2025 Local Control Funding Formula, LCFF Budget Overview for Parents. Dr. Senior.
Okay, thank you. This is the final LCAP big document that we're going to talk about this evening. And so in addition to our LCAP that talks about our annual update and kind of our progress on the metrics that we've made, it also includes the budget overview for parents, which explains how we're spending our LCFF monies and also our supplementary monies that support our students that are unduplicated, which include our English learners, our homeless students, our foster youth students, and our students in low income categories. And so tonight, we've done presentations in the past. Tonight, we didn't receive any additional public comment, so there haven't been any additional changes made to the LCAP since the last presentation at the June 10th meeting. And so we are going to bring this version forward, and I can take any questions, but I'm asking for approval of the Local Control and Accountability Plan and the budget overview for parents.
Trustee Gasson.
Oh, I'm still on. I think there's a little typo because you were reading while I was reading the package. So I think the agenda item might have a typo for what we're approving. It's the 2025.
Oh, actually, the budget overview is only a 1 year for the budget overview because that changes every year. The
Yeah,
LCAP plan.
The content here is different than.
Right, so the plan itself is a 3-year plan, but the budget overview
No,
goes
I know.
by, I'm sorry, on the agenda item, I'm sorry, I'm looking at that, okay.
So I just want to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to. I think we're supposed to do what's on here, not on the agenda.
Okay, let me see, can I steal that from you? No, so the overall plan is a 3-year plan, the LCAP is 3-year. The budget overview itself is just 1 year. So it goes forward for the 25. That's what it's not a typo. Am I missing this?
Yes, so see 2025 to 2026,
Uh-huh.
but on the
Oh, I'm
agenda-
sorry. Yes, you are correct. It should be 2025 to 2026. Local control, budget overview for parents. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Gesson.
I thought I was hearing numbers again.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Please don't approve last year's. Please approve the following years.
Okay, so we are approving approval of the 2024-20 to 27 Local Control Accountability Plan and the 2025 to 2026 Local Control Funding Formula,
Thank you.
LCFF Budget Overview for Parents. Can I please get a motion? Oh, thank you, Trustee
Thank
Mack.
you.
Second, thank you, Trustee Pickus. All those in favor? 4 trustees. Perfect.
You had one job. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, item 12G, approval of Novato Unified School District's 2025-2026 budget presented by Jeff.
All right, so tonight we are seeking final approval for the 25-26 adopted budget. The good news here, the document has not changed at all since the last time we talked. So when Josh gave his presentation 2 weeks ago, everything in the adopted budget is exactly the same. Nothing has changed. We don't really have any new information yet because the governor's budget has not been finally approved yet. So once that comes out and is final, if there are any significant material changes to our budget that come about due to that, we will submit a 45-day revised budget to you. So. But one thing to note, last time in the presentation that Josh gave 2 weeks ago, it was stated that our projected enrollment for next year was 7,350. And this budget is actually built on a projected enrollment of 7,300. So I just wanted to clarify that because We are actually, based on our projections, we're pretty close to that 7,300 number, so we're pretty hopeful that we will hit it. So I definitely wanted to clarify that. But otherwise, everything's the same, and unless there's any questions, ask for your approval.
Trustee Gasson?
I'm partly stalling because my girlfriend's coming for a presentation later, but we're whipping through all this. The 45-day revise, you said, so that would happen like in August, correct?
That sounds about right, I think, because it would be mid-August, right? Because July 1st, 45 days, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my other question just escaped me. Sorry, I should have written it out. I don't remember. Okay, I don't remember what it was. Hi. There's so many of us that can do that. Okay, I will, barring the fact I can't remember, I will make a motion to approve the NUSD 2025-2026 budget as presented.
Thank you, Trustee Gasson. Can I get a second? Thank you, Trustee Pickus. All those in favor? Board trustees, thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Next, 12H, approval of resolution number 37, 2024-2025, authorization of the tax anticipation note TAN for 2025-2026. Jeff will be presenting on this.
Okay, so this is the TAN resolution. This is an item that we bring to you each year at the beginning of the fiscal year. And the purpose of this document is so that in the very highly unlikely event that we need it, we would be allowed to borrow, we can temporarily borrow funds from the Treasury, which we pay back within the same fiscal year. We don't typically ever utilize this, but however, it's always a good thing to have in our back pocket just in case it is needed, and it's something that MCOE recommends every district has this TAN resolution in effect. In case there's some kind of temporary deferral of revenue from the state or something weird that happens, we would be able to access some additional funds to, bridge us for a month or something like that. Like I said, we don't anticipate the need to temporarily borrow funds, but this gives us the authority to do so as a safety measure. So unless there are any questions, I'd like to ask for your approval of the TAN resolution.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, can I please get approval of resolution number 37? Thank you, Trustee Mack. Second, thank you, Trustee Pickus. This is a roll call vote. Trustee Alexander, absent. Trustee Butler, absent. Trustee Gasson?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, absent. Trustee Lametta? Yes. Trustee Mack?
Aye.
Trustee Pickus?
Aye.
Thank you. 4 trustees, 3 absent. Thank you, Jeff. Next, we have the approval of Second Amendment extension of employment agreement for district superintendent. And I do have to present on this. So this item is for approval of an amendment to the employment agreement between the board and the superintendent. Prior to discussion and voting on the amendment, Government Code Section 54953 requires an oral summary of the recommended salary or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits for a local agency executive. The law requires that the summary be provided during open session of the regular meeting in which the final action is to be taken. Pursuant to the superintendent's current employment agreement and in consideration of the satisfactory performance evaluation with the board gave the superintendent for the 2024-2025 school year, under the amendment, the term of the superintendent's employment agreement is extended by 1 year to June 30, 2028. The current employment agreement also provides that the superintendent shall receive an increase in compensation each year following a satisfactory evaluation. While the superintendent received a satisfactory evaluation for 2024-2025, the amendment states that the board and superintendent have agreed that the superintendent will forego such an increase for 2025-2026. Questions, comments?
I'll just acknowledge, kind of as Trustee Gasson did, the foregoing of an increase, which allowed us to, work with our other union partners. So appreciation for Dr. Smith and everyone who made that happen. And also, I think we as a board have appreciated the work that Dr. Smith has done in laying some great groundwork for how we can continue to move the needle. So I will move to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Pickus. Can I get a second? Thank you, Trustee Mack. This is a roll call vote. Trustee Alexander, absent. Trustee Butler, absent. Trustee Gasson.
Here, aye.
Thank you. Trustee Jacobson, absent. Trustee Lametta, aye. Trustee Mack.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you. 4 ayes and 3 absent. Next on our agenda, we have approval of the accessibility features for elementary school playground project, and JC will be presenting on this item.
Good evening, Dr. Syniad, board members, and very importantly, members of the public, the community. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you phase 2 of our inclusive playground retrofit project. This phase builds on the foundation established at Lou Sutton Elementary that was already previously signed off, and brings along the long-awaited upgrades to the remaining elementary school sites. So the scope, just to remind you, includes new poured-in-place rubber surfacing at key locations. That's the new surfacing, yeah. Replacement of worn and many damaged components. Retrofits for age appropriateness. So as we've noticed that a lot of the playgrounds were not age appropriate, so we've retrofitted that as part of this plan. And inclusive play elements that support sensory, social, and cooperative engagement. So once again, just to reiterate, we did evaluate through extensive site visits and made decisions that reflect safety, compliance, and play equity for students district-wide. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the public feedback that we received, especially from community members advocating for comprehensive inclusive design. Their passion and insight and the things that I have learned through this process have contributed to this process. And we thank them. That said, it's important to clearly state that this phase does not include the following. We are not including ramps to elevated components in this phase. Access is provided through transfer stations, which do meet ADA standards. We are not delivering fully universal design playgrounds at any one site. This approach would require significant redesign, relocation of funds, and delay the implementation that we have planned. We are not including designated quiet zones, shade structures on the playgrounds, or multi-sensory pathways, which are often part of a fully immersive playground environments. These elements are valid and worthwhile aspirations, but they fall outside the current scope, timeline, and our current funding model. What we are doing is making meaningful district-wide progress across all the elementary schools within the budget and design window that we have. So just to reiterate, each playground will, in this plan, have and include ADA compliant surfacing, accessible routes and transfer points, ground level inclusive features like sensory panels, and I'll get into the presentation, I'll show that for you for now. Music stations, buddy rockers, and imaginary play zones. Again, just to reiterate, these upgrades are fully compliant with federal and state accessibility requirements and reflect thoughtful redesign decisions made in collaboration with our Miracle Playgroup vendor. We recognize this isn't the finish line. This is more of a significant milestone. Looking ahead, our upcoming master facilities plan will provide the right structure for broader community engagement and long-term inclusive planning. That is where deeper redesign, model, site pilots, and additional sensory or behavioral considerations can be and should be discussed. Tonight, we respectfully ask for your support in moving phase 2 forward. These playgrounds are ready to be built. The parts have started arriving at our maintenance and operations shop, and we can't wait to put them together this summer. So let me get into my presentation. So just to recap, these are the elementary sites that are planned. So in total, we have 13. And number 8 over there was actually part of the first approval that we received from you at Lou Sutton. And so 13 in total. You can see some school sites actually have multiple playgrounds that we're addressing through accessibility and inclusivity. And then I thought for the first time, let's show you a bit of a bigger visual of some of the elements that we plan at all these sites. Look at my notes here. So from left all the way to right, we have the Buddy Rocker, powered by super sturdy springs, and can house up to 8 kids at the same time, encouraging cooperative play. We also have the Spinatorium, so at the top there, easy to spin, and it's a map of the world, which creates opportunities for conversations and learning. A little bit further down, For the Win interactive play, which is an interactive panel for kids. And then we're also introducing Concerto, which is basically some band equipment on our playgrounds that bands together kids of all ages and ability through experiencing the benefits of joy and music. And of course, these are thoughtful design. They're installed at an angle and at the appropriate height. Then we have some more. The jumping bean and mini city items, which will be this specifically, the 2 bottom images will be for our 2 to 5-year-old playgrounds, and the top jumping bean will be for our 5 to 12. And then I just wanted to jump into some of the imagery that we had shown you before, and as part of this retrofit. So everything in gray is our current play structures that we're either fixing with parts or repairing, and everything in color. So everything that I have a yellow arrow pointed to, those are the new inclusive and accessible elements that we're adding. So for instance, this is an example of what it would look like at a 2 to 5-year-old playground. This happens to be Pleasant Valley. Yeah, just one of the playgrounds that's getting a retrofit. So we have the Imagination Center, a saddle seat, a push-pin stand, the musical elements through the Concerto Vibes, a washer stand, and some additional congas. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional pieces of play equipment that is going to go on the 2 to 5-year playground. And this is just one example. And then I just wanted to show you what another view from the back side looks like. So again, everything in gray is current, that's being repaired. Of course, there's also new surfacing that's taking place. And then just a view from another angle. This is what it looks like at Olive Elementary. So this is an example of a 5 to 12-year-old playground. Again, new surfacing, and up to 8 different new. It's basically going to be new for all kids that are enjoying their time on that playground. So just to step back for a second, phase 1 was already approved. Phase 2, what I'm presenting here tonight, we're asking for approval for the remaining $557,110.80 for these features that I've just taken you through at the 13 different sites, which takes us to a grand total of 1.8. And if you recall, the total budget that we had set forth in the beginning of this procedure was $2 million. So we're coming under budget. Any questions?
Trustee.
So thank you, and I appreciate all of the clarity prior to the presentation and understanding, and I know you've learned a lot through this, and I remember the representative was here when we approved the first go-around. As you were speaking, and I was reflecting about the changes that we're making, I've always been really proud that we try to set the tone, and we do so much here. It got me to realize I never really asked, like, what are the other sites doing? I know, as an example, that a lot of schools are having a hard time with the TK, getting accommodations, and the fact that we're redesigning the play structures because we have, a lot of TK children as well, and that kind of just hit me tonight. That we've got these littler kids and adjusting our play structures for littler kids. Do you know what other school locations are doing to create more, to help support the younger students that they have on campus, but also the inclusivity piece?
Yeah, so we're addressing every single age-appropriate TK play structure, or play box, as we like to call it. So what we found for the likes, for example, at Loma Verde, both play structures are not age appropriate, and the elements are too high or too just not age appropriate. So at Loma Verde, for instance, we're giving one complete new playground redesign, as well as upgrading the surface. So currently it's wood chip, and then the second playground that's in that same yard is also going to be updated to be age appropriate. So every single playground out there that is in the TK yard is going to be age appropriate. And every single playground that is in TK is going to have these elements that are that we like to think are accessible and inclusive. The one limitation that we have, and I want to lead the witness here, but one limitation that we do have district-wide is the space that we're working within, that specific box.
Do you think we're leading the way, I guess, indirectly, is what I was curious about? Like, are the other districts in Marin going through these transitions in their playgrounds, or were they already accommodating for accessibility and for TK?
I can't specifically speak to other districts, but I can speak to what's happening sort of at a outside of school sort of scenario. I mean, we're dealing with a lot larger spaces, and we're obviously able to definitely deliver. They are able to deliver on accessibility and inclusivity as a full package. But I think we're still pioneering in a sense. We're taking existing playgrounds that are not in disrepair. I would say the surfacing really needs to be looked at, but I think we're making great progress by repairing, upgrading, and in most cases adding new features. So playgrounds are going to look a hell of a lot different come the 21st of August when students come back to the playgrounds. Hopefully we'll have them all completed by that time, but I think it's a big step for the district. The mere fact that in February of 24 we did a CSI study to the minutest of detail, and then we started this journey. We involved the community. I've learned a lot. I've never dealt with playgrounds before. I know every single playground like the back of my hand right now because I've been out there so many times, and I think Novato Unified School District is really putting a stake in the ground, and I'm tremendously proud.
Thank you. I mean, I'm really excited. So thank you for all the work.
I think you've already answered my question, but I'll just make sure. So timing is to have all of these in before the next year starts.
That is the plan, yeah.
Fantastic.
So
Okay.
Parts the heaviest lift is going to be the surfacing. So we're already going to be starting next week at Lou Sutton with the pilot. We're going to be demoing some of the playgrounds that are beyond repair, like for instance at Olive. So all this work is beginning as early as next week. So all the parts are arriving, and the teams are going to start mobilizing and doing multiple sites at the same time, while the shade structures are hopefully going up at the same time. So it's going to be busy. Yeah.
That was one of my questions. Thank you. This is really exciting, and I hear your comment that there are some other features that, in an ideal world, we'd like to include here. And so you said this is like a journey that we're on. Are these other pieces things that we can, if we're resurfacing, right? Are these other pieces that we can add to what we're doing right now, or do they require us to then pull out what we've done in order to restructure, right? Like you said, we don't have ramps here, and that would be ideally what we would have.
Yeah, so let me pull back to one of these images here. For instance, some of the items to make it truly, sort of a mecca of inclusivity and accessibility would require us to do a lot of changes to the grey structure, the existing structure. And then, of course, we're just, we don't have a lot of space to work with. And we also need to consider fall zones, space between items. So we're working within the confines of the space that we have. If we were to have to reimagine this, we would potentially in the future knock it down and start from scratch.
Got it.
But these play structures are still in very good condition, barring a few parts and repairs here and there. But we have a good chassis to work on.
Okay.
So you can see, I mean, basically we're building around the current structures.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question then. So when you take it down, or like I guess you just said that there's two, and I happen to know we were at Olive, and they were commenting that the old play structure was the one that all the kids were like, it was so much. I remember when there were swings, and I know that that's not allowed anymore. But are there any permitting or like things that we have to go through when you take the entire thing down, or is it just we can do what we want?
There's no DSA involved in this project.
But even with the ones that are completely taken down, there's no oversight or when you completely take the structure away, is there anything that creates you have to get approval for?
That is not my understanding. That we don't need to. Yeah, we don't need to get any approval. So the two structures that we're taking down completely is the structure at Olive, the most popular playground in the world. And we're completely rethinking and redesigning what that might look like. It's looking like it's going to be an open space, either real grass or some sort of artificial surface. We also need to look at the irrigation there right now, because that is a bit of a flood zone. That sand pit does become a swimming pool in the winter. And the second structure is at Loma Verde in the TK yard. Those are the two structures that are completely going away. The one at Loma Verde is being replaced with a new age-appropriate play structure with surfacing. But no, yeah, that was one of the first things we checked, how much approval, permitting, all of that needs to take place with our playgrounds, and there's no architectural services that are needed.
Thank you. We do have one public comment on this agenda item. Alicia Cho Oguire. I'm so sorry if I'm so sorry.
Yes, I'm Alicia Incho Ogie. You were close. I have 3 kids in the district, or actually 3 kids, 2 who go to school in the district. I also have a child with a disability, and I was one of the community members that was working with JC, or met with him a few times, and I just want to say that it was great connecting and kind of sharing our perspective. I was brought along a colleague of mine, Lena, from another district. We kind of came at this. She has a child who's a wheelchair user. I have a child who's severely impacted by autism, and we kind of came at this from both sides. I do appreciate the changes that have been made, and I think that kids will be excited by them. Some of the things I want to point out, and I'm glad you have this up still, is it is technically ADA compliant, and you hear that all the time. Well, it's ADA compliant, it's fine. If you're a child using a wheelchair and you roll up to the transfer station, you see it at the bottom right there, kind of by the musical instruments. The idea is that this child in a wheelchair is going to lift themselves up and transfer their body onto that transfer station and somehow get all the way up that play structure and slide down while their wheelchair is still on the other side. So it is ADA compliant. As you can imagine, it's not very dignified, and it's not something that's really somebody's able to do. So it is accessible, but it's not inclusive in any way, shape, or form. My colleague and I also went through a certification process, and we are Inclusive Playground certified now. And one of the things they talk about is that you really want to make the most exciting piece of equipment on a playground fully accessible, fully inclusive. Because when you think about it, you're adding these things on the edges, which is fine because we have space issues, but playground's kind of a microcosm of society. And so if the most exciting piece is in the middle, that's where all the kids are going to be playing, right? And what's happening on the margins? Like, what kids are on the sidelines? Those are the kids with disabilities. Those are the kids in special education. And they're not the ones who are able to access that exciting or main feature in the middle, right? So part of what we're working on, we're actually building a magical bridge inclusive playground in San Rafael with the county. And things that we're talking about are, getting rid of these old structures that just go up, narrow, walkways and pathways, and spacing things out into zones that kids with autism can access and won't get overwhelmed with. Because even though my daughter's not physically disabled, she doesn't go on play structures like that, because as the kids rush in, it's too much for her. It's loud, the space isn't there for her, and so she ends up on the sidelines as well. And so these are all things to think about. I appreciate all of the thought that you've put into this. I know that you've worked really hard on this. It is disappointing that it's not obviously what we really fully want. So I think as you guys look at this and think about what you want in 5-10 years from now, ideally you want a fully inclusive playground for everybody in your district to be able to access. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Trustee.
Do you want to finish? I'll
Oh.
second.
Okay.
Okay.
For discussion.
Great.
Trustee Pickus.
JC, just a question, kind of as a follow-up. In terms of when we talk about making these things fully accessible, obviously there's a couple barriers that we have.
Mhm.
What's the life left in some of our big structures, right? Like as things get older, we need to continue to replace things. With the gray pieces that are still on there, what's the timeline left on when we will need to replace those bigger pieces?
Yeah, that's a great question. 10, 15 years.
Okay.
But I mean, if we were to change course after looking at the master facilities plan, I mean, we can make that call. There are certain parts that are rusted, that are broken. We're talking about new bolts, some new paneling, but it's in fairly good condition. I think some of the playground structures are between 5 and 10 years old only. So yes, they're faded, they're rusted, but we're going to get new signage. That can all be cleaned up. It's all cosmetic and aesthetic.
Okay. But some of these larger changes that we're kind of talking about, I would just want to make sure that these are still on our radar as we are looking to continue to upgrade our facilities, when we're thinking where we want to head. It would be great to have these ideas as part of our ultimate goal that we're working toward.
100%.
Thank you. So we had a motion we have a motion on the floor. And a second, a first and a second, excuse me. All those in favor? Aye. 4 trustees. Thank you. Thank you, JC. Next on our agenda is approval of resolution number 38, 2024-2025, declaring the futility of public bidding for the switchgear project at Novato High School. And then John from Greystone West will be presenting on this item.
All right, thank you. So tonight we're looking for a futility resolution for the Novato High switchgear project. Contractor is Sonoma Marin Landscape. They got the project for $215,000. Since we started the project, we've met with PG&E, and the PG&E rules and regulations, known as their Green Book, has changed. And they are no longer allowing any owner's utilities to cross PG&E utilities. So we've had to relocate the switchgear. We are able to, by law, do a change order up to 10% of the contract. However, this exceeds that. So we need to do a futility resolution, which means that it's a futile exercise to go out and rebid the project because it would create substantial delays to the project. So it's not in the district's best interest. So we're looking for approval of this futility resolution. I will comment that we've relocated it once already that this covers. There's another relocation that I'm going to be bringing to you that we are working through right now to get approved. The original budget that was approved, if you recall, was $1 million for the entire project. And so we're still substantially under that budget. The original budget that was approved for this project was $1 million, the project costs. And it was like $618,000 for construction costs. So we're still under that budget, but we do need to exceed that 10% of the change orders, which would be $21,500. So we do need your approval for that.
Do we anticipate that this second change order will be approximately the same cost, or is it going to be different because it's a different location and different situation?
We're working through those costs right now. So originally it was going to be in that turnabout right outside of Novato High School. There's a wall with a mural on it, and the existing switchgear is behind that. This covered relocating it into the grass and then relocating the transformer further up towards the parking lot. When we started that excavation and investigation, we found that there was additional owner utilities there, so it had to go around the building towards the gym a bit. Believe we've got a spot now. We've uncovered everything, but we do need to relocate a gas line, which is not included in this, and then this further location is not included. So instead of just moving it a few feet, we're moving it around the corner 25 feet.
Wow.
I hate to be ignorant, but can you go the other way?
No. If we were to go the other way, we would be going towards, it's all concrete, it would go towards the office and the thoroughfare there. So there's really no opportunity for it to go that way.
So, I'm sorry, what did you have? No. Okay, so I have experience as a homeowner when they come out from the they identify where electrical and gas is. So is it PG&E or whomever didn't mark all that stuff or know that stuff was there, or? Originally,
It wasn't an issue because the PG&E regulations in the Green Book allowed private utilities and their electrical lines to cross.
Right, but now that you're in a different area, but now there's a gas line to be moved?
Correct. So the gas line runs parallel with the building, so there really is nowhere else. Even if we go further away, we're still going to run into this gas line. So now we're going to route it around there. When we went to relocate it the first time, they did do some cammering of the existing lines, and there's a duct bank there that didn't come up. And so we didn't know until we opened all that up that there was this interference.
So where are we at then? So tonight, we're supposed to approve this, but you're saying it's an additional.
So right now, I'm asking you to approve an additional $36,000, I'll get the exact number, $36,276.66 to the contract. But we're gonna come back to you as we're working through trying to get a change order, a second change order, once we identify the entirety of the additional scope, we're gonna have to come back to you again because we're gonna be over that initial 10%.
Okay, so my question then would be, do we have to approve this tonight, or can we wait and understand the full scope of everything, or does this have to be approved in order for you to get to the next step?
We need to approve this because we need the contractor to do the work. And for a $215,000 contract, this is a substantial amount to expect him to do the extra work without getting some sort of acknowledgement that he's going to get paid for it. And then he's going to expend additional funds, another $30,000-$40,000 potentially to relocate it the second time.
Okay. Unfortunately, as much as you look like you're comfortable there, could you come up for a second, or possibly? Yeah, Jeff. Sorry, there's not that many people here. I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm just curious. So my understanding then is so this is over. Okay, so we had 2 million though identified for this. 1 million. Okay. I am bad with numbers tonight. So I guess my bottom line question is, I know that some of the other projects that are out there, I mean, we just had information about the last of our bond funds. We're pretty much done with, I mean, we might get some residual from the projects or like the work that we have going on. So there's potential residual from that we could have. I mean, what's the worst, I guess you can't even do worst case because you're waiting to find out what the next step is or the information about the gas line and the subsequent piece of 20-something thousand?
Yeah, that's correct. We're waiting to, right now they're working on pricing it out. Everything's been uncovered, so they're pricing out exactly what we need to do to make that relocation take place.
Okay.
So I anticipate it's gonna be somewhere between $35,000 and $40,000, but that's sort of my dart without doing a complete estimate on it. It's sort of just me looking at it and being like, oh, this is what we have to do. So we're talking potentially, $40,000 is my guess.
Plus the 30.
Plus the 36,000.
And just to be clear, the original number was $1 million, and we're gonna, after all this is said and done, coming in probably somewhere in the 350 range. 215 plus
That would
these
be
two.
that would be about 215 plus 80, so that'd be 295 plus all of the soft costs. So that'd be like
Like
potentially
300, 320.
40% to that.
Okay.
So
So basically, we're coming in like exceedingly low relative to budget. Okay.
Maybe to kind of alleviate some of your concerns, one of the things that's not in the budget for the bond at all is that we do collect interest on that money. So that is not included in anything. So that is going to be another little extra bit that will help. The reason we don't really include it in the budget is because of this type of thing. We want to have that interest as kind of like, when we get it, and it can kind of help cover some of these weird little things that happen. So I do think that I would anticipate we would get easily enough in interest to cover something like this, because we do get a significant amount of interest from the bond funds, so that we won't be pulling from the general fund if that is what you're concerned about, because it sounds like you're a little worried about going into that.
I missed the connection with that original. So yeah, it felt like it was just one uncertain. Like I'm like, okay, at what point are we like, okay, this is how much it's going to be? It was more from where I was coming from, and if we're to a point where we think that that's where we can dig in or we can deal with, and we're just waiting for that piece, then I'm okay. I felt like we're getting a little bit away of we're trying to do something and that there might be another thing that we have to go around. So
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Mack. Can I get a second? Thank you, Trustee Pickus. This is a roll call vote. Trustee Alexander, absent. Trustee Butler, absent. Trustee Gasson.
aye.
Trustee Jacobson, absent. Trustee Lametta, aye. Trustee Mack.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you. 4 ayes. Thank you, John. Okay, moving on. Approval of new classified job descriptions. First readings. Franny will be presenting on this item.
All right. Hi again. So this item is encompassing 2 new classified job descriptions, one for paraeducator in our vocational transition program. That's, as a reminder, the new special education class for our adults ages 18 to 22. And so that is a paraeducator serving alongside the teacher that was approved for that class. And then the other job description is the certified wellness coach. And as a reminder on that, the certified wellness coach is a restoration, if you will, of a classified wellness position. It's a replacement or a restoration of the previously laid off wellness hub navigators at the high schools and the restorative practice specialists at our 2 elementary schools. And these job descriptions were part of our negotiation process with CSEA. They were kind of under the scope of negotiations having to do with the impact of layoffs. And so we actually fairly early on agreed at the table, sorry, on the paraeducator description, because that's basically a brand new position, a brand new class. It's adding another paraeducator position to their bargaining unit. So that was an early on agreement with CSEA. And then the certified wellness coach did take a little bit more discussion, but that has been ratified. Both of these have been ratified along with the tentative agreement by the CSEA unit on June 10th.
Questions, comments?
Just a comment. I appreciate and wanted to kind of acknowledge the creative chess game that's happening here in order to maintain some really important positions, especially with the wellness coach. You know, we lost that funding from the federal side. And so I think that this district is doing a great job of trying to maintain like all the great services that we provide. And that's just one example of how we're kind of shifting things around. So much appreciation. And I will move or make a first if nobody has any questions or comments.
Thank you, Trustee Pickus. Yes, Trustee Pickus made a motion. Thank you, Trustee Mack. All those in favor? Perfect. For trustees.
So just so for logistics sake, the CSEA bargaining leadership, their union leadership, they did, because it went through all their approval process and we had discussed it previously with the board, they allowed for us to make our current employees aware of these pending positions. So you guys will formally approve these both on consent at the August meeting. And kind of simultaneously, we should hopefully be able to be placing internal employees in these new positions. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Franny. Next on our agenda, we have review and approve board policy and administrative regulation updates in the 500 Students Series 2. Mr. Saisi will be presenting on this.
All right, good evening, trustees and Dr. Sinyard. I come to you tonight to update you on the work that our dress code committee has done over the past few months, and to bring forward some recommended changes to the language in the dress and grooming administrative regulations number 5132 and to exhibit 5132 number 1 as well. The purpose of our committee was to review the current dress code board policy and administrative regulations and make any recommended changes if there were any that we were going to recommend. And we do have some tonight. Our committee members were made up of parents, guardians. We did have Trustee Jacobson, a board member on the committee, teachers, administrators, and some students. And the process, so what did we do? We looked at our own current policy. I went and visited all of the secondary schools, so all the middle and high schools. I met with a cross-section of students. I talked to them around dress code, what was working, what's not working, any changes that they want to see. We compared our dress code to 8 other districts' dress codes in Marin County, just to see how ours compared. We developed and implemented surveys for parents, staff, and students, and then we developed recommended changes. Oops. All right, and one of the questions that we asked all 3 groups, parents, staff, and students, was what would you like to change about the dress code? And so this is just a summary of what each group said. Parents wanted stricter enforcement of the current dress code, the undergarments and body parts covered. They had concerns with overly revealing clothing, and they wanted fair and unbiased enforcement of the dress codes. For the staff, they wanted stricter, For the staff, they wanted stricter enforcement and clearer guidelines. They wanted prohibition of revealing clothing and there was some mention of gender bias in the dress code as well. And then for the students, they wanted to relax restrictions on showing bra straps underneath clothing and then allow open-toed shoes at the middle school level. They wanted to wear comfortable clothing like pajamas and crop tops. And they also said that the enforcement was not consistent. One of the things that I did want to let you know about where the survey information matched up with our committee was around things like open-toed shoes at the middle school level. I checked with the administrators. They were fine with open-toed shoes at middle school. Our current board policy does not allow for it. We were in agreement on bra straps not being a violation or like waistbands not being a violation if they were showing underneath clothing. Greater coverage overall, and the theme of enforcement of the regulations. The committee also talked about ways to implement the guidelines and so that we're not also pulling students out of class so they're not missing instructional time in order to talk about dress code with students, and definitely needing a stronger messaging at the beginning of the year of what the dress code is and what the expectations are moving forward. And we do have actually some members of our dress code committee in the audience tonight, which is great. And I am looking for your approval tonight on the updates to the administrative regulations 5132 and the exhibit 5132 number 1. And if you have any questions.
Questions, comments? Trustee Gasson?
Thank you. I know I saw you the first meeting and all of the work that you did. I just really appreciated, checking other schools, listening to the community, especially since I know there was different opinions and things, and consolidating all this in a really good, thorough report in terms of the points I've heard expressed in our community as well. The only thing that struck me as you were speaking that I hadn't thought of till just now was you mentioned about the not pulling kids out of class for inappropriate dress. So what does happen then?
Well, ideally, we're not pulling kids out of class, but if an administrator is made aware of a dress code violation, then it is up to them to address it with the student. But ideally, they're not walking to the classroom, opening up the door, pulling the kid out of class, and dealing with the dress code issue. Ideally, they would be doing that in between classes or maybe a break at lunchtime,
Right.
talking with them independently.
Yeah, no, I don't think they should miss class for that, but I realized I don't know what happens or how does it get conveyed to the student? And so then they just get a warning or mentioned, this isn't appropriate.
Yeah, depending on what the violation is of the dress code. It could be anything from a warning, make sure we're not doing this again type of thing, to we need to figure something else out for the rest of the day.
Trustee Pickus?
Yeah, first, appreciation to our committee. There's a lot of feelings around dress codes, and so it's a lot to wade through. So thanks for sticking in there. And yeah, I was also curious about the enforcement piece. What came up a couple times here was inconsistent enforcement. So are we kind of developing a strategy so we can talk to our administrators around how to have these conversations or how to manage this?
That is the plan, yeah, to have that discussion prior to the start of school.
Great.
So that we are consistent on it.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, can I get a motion to approve updates on our board policy? Thank you, Trustee Pickus. Can I get a second? Trustee Gasson. All those in favor? 4 trustees. Thank you so much, Mr. Saisi. Okay, the next regular board meeting will be on August 5th. Meeting adjourned.